Hello, this is about using torque tubes as trolley rails. Torque tubes used on single axis trackers. Torque tubes as trolley rails. Shown here, you see two torque tubes, and there's a pick and place machine riding on those torque tubes, placing 4L at a time, four pre-assembled modules, PV modules in landscape. This is a concept model. I'm going to show how this will work for building future solar farms faster, better, cheaper. I'm Robert Dowley, the inventor, 45 years in PV, engineer and MBA. And these are large rows. This can also be used for small rows of 1P, one in portrait, 2L, two in landscape, 4L, four in landscape, or 2P, two in portrait, which is really the way to go. Over on the left is 1P, very small, not much room in between the rows down the aisles, especially for agrivoltaics. You can't get equipment down there. Over on the right is some testing we did with 2P as well as 4L, but large is what we recommend. These are 50% ground coverage ratio, 50% PV, 50% aisle. Either 1P, two in landscape, or two in portrait. These small systems, 1P and two in landscape, sometimes are moved farther out from each other, the rows, so you have larger aisles, so you can get equipment down those aisles. Excuse me, down those aisles. But now you have less PV per land area. The large 2P at the bottom still gives you both 50% ground coverage ratio and very wide aisles. This is 50% ground coverage ratio. The top two rows are 1P, the two next are 2L, two in landscape, and then the bottom are two in portrait. They are all 50% PV, 50% aisle. As mentioned, those smaller rows can be spread out, but then you have less PV per land area. Here's posts for 1P, two rows of each. Here's the pick and place trolley machines. Let's go ahead and build out the torque tubes ahead of itself, like building the Continental Railroad, laying the track ahead of itself. So here come the torque tubes. Now it's time to reload the pick and place. And we're finished. Now we're ready for the PV. And it just continues on all the way back to the beginning to the left. Our bearings allow these rollers, these trolleys to go over the bearings. And the bearing caps are put on after the torque tubes are laid down before the PV is put on. And that's how it's built. Very fast, very efficient, all from the end of the aisle, not having to drive down the aisles. Everything is staged on the end. Recommend pre-assembled 2P as shown, which is shuttled down the torque tubes via trolleys. This is our recommended 2P. 120 modules would be 78 meters by 5 meters. That's 60 sets of 2P. Underneath are the purlins. We recommend putting on the 2P pre-assembled. Over on the right, they put the purlins on first. They have to measure them out, put them in exact place, and then put the modules on, where we have a way where they can be pre-assembled. As shown here with this industrial Pez dispenser, it spits out 2P at a time. This one happens to be rolling down the aisles. What we were showing you is using the torque tubes as trolley rails. So you don't have to roll down the aisles should they be muddy, frozen, icy, environmentally sensitive, planted in crops. Easy versus hard, faster, better, cheaper. FYI, our 2P that we're recommending is balanced. It's up and down 5 degrees, which gives a neutral center of gravity. The tracker is never top heavy. We have a patent on the tapered purlin, and there's many benefits to this. First off, it's always balanced at every tilt.
This is a test we're doing on these 2 panels for reflectance. I want you to see how easy it is for me to turn it. This is balanced.
I have one more video.
Let's see, I'm going to lift these 2 panels with just one little hand. It's so balanced, and that's the friction right there, and that bearing and that bearing. There's no friction. There is, but it works in our favor.
As I said, it's a neutral center of gravity. As shown on the left, the wind always hits the top of the module regardless of which way the wind comes from. If there's rain, it sheets off the water so you don't get sediment ponds. And I'm going to show you how it's always balanced at every tilt angle. It's balanced all day long, never straining the drive system, only to hold during the wind. Here's how the torque tubes go in. First off, our bearings are simple. It's steel on steel, no plastic bushing. The top is not part of the bearing race. It's just a cap to keep the system from blowing off. We lay in a round torque tube, which we have a patent on, with a journal coupler. The magenta is both a journal, it rubs in the bearing race, and it couples the next torque tube. And it's a loose fit. It's not a tight Swiss watch. And then the cap goes on after you drive the trolley back and forth over this one little gap. And that's how it's done. And you never have to go down the aisles to put the torque tubes nor the PV in case it's environmentally sensitive, wet, muddy, icy, or as shown here, planted in crops for agrivoltaic. Thank you.